start.
Hello, everyone. I'm Oindrila, and I have been working for the last 22 years now, quite old in that sense. So I started my career with agencies. It was advertising public relations agencies, and then I moved on to the what we call, in advertising or public relations agency side, that we call the client side. So I moved on to the marketing client side, and when I used to be in the agency, I used to handle a lot of clients which were right from Z Telephones to Airtel to Channel V, even Tata Group, and then I moved on to the corporate side, and I worked for 8 years with HDFC Limited in their marketing communications department, looking into the internal communication, international, supporting the international marketing. And then I became a mother, and I became a mother, and I decided that, I would like to be with my daughter a little more. It was a lot of turmoil, but I chose to step aside and be with her. But once you have worked that thing, or maybe it is me, I was very restless, and when I thought that everybody else understood motherhood and parenthood very well, and I'm the only one, because I worked almost till my last week of being a mother. So when I became a mother, I started reading a lot, and Google was there, and a lot of books I got, and I thought that everybody knew how to parent their child other than me, because I hadn't spent time. And over a period, I thought it was like a project, so I got into this project mode. And what I realized was that there was a lot of things which were there, which was psychology, or maybe there were researchers internationally which were talking about the emotional well-being of children, and talking about adversity quotient and cultural enrichment, how that builds in confidence. And I realized that that can't happen unless and until, and I thought everybody knew. Like, I started speaking to my fellow moms and others, and they would be almost like, oh, is that an information? So which is how I thought I'll start a website, and I started a Facebook community back then, which I have stopped now because I can't manage so much. But suddenly it like completely bloomed at that point of time, and over like few months, I had some like 20, 30 or 1,000 people, parents joining, and I got overwhelmed, and which is where my company Grooming Babies was born. So I'm an entrepreneur there. The founder, I have two more partners. We work basically on content. It's also related to media field. We do a lot of content, but for parent and children. So we take up the Indian cultural content and modernize it and present it to parent and children. And then somehow, like, I want always loved teaching. By absolutely by fluke, I got into teaching, and that just took on. So when I became a mother, and I was doing both, mother to both my company and my daughter, I started also teaching. And then I was with University of Mumbai. I helped, actually, when they were starting their mass media community journalism and mass communication course. I was one of those core team who was helping them to make the curriculum out there. So Sanjay Ranade that time was the head of the department, and he was a dear friend and very senior friend actually. So he invited me, saying that, maybe you can help in the bring in the practical element of it. So while they were doing the theoretical part, they needed the industry part. So which is why I got in, and then I started teaching at different colleges. So taught at EMDI, I've taught at DG Goenka. Then I'm also now associated partly with NM online courses. But where I found my real ground was Whistling Woods, and that's where I've been for the last 8 years. So I'm part of their media and communication department. And that is where I am now. And I'm a homeschooling mom. She's a teen now. And yes, that's a little introduction of me.
So lovely, lovely introduction. So, Indrila, we understood that teaching happened by fluke, but entering into mass media. So now tell us that when you were in school or college, was that a decision that you made, or was there a calling from within you that, oh, this is something that I want to be, or I want to go here? Or was there an inspirational moment, or some inspirational personality probably, which inspired you कि नहीं यार ऐसे मुझे इधर जाना है? So what was that calling, or why did you choose this career, this
A
field?
complete, 80s and 80s kid, right? 70s, 80s kid. There's nothing called inspiration or calling. We went to normal school, came back home. Nobody knew what was this whole field of media or anything was. I'm from a small town called Jamshedpur. I only knew one thing. In my middle years, I was not even a great student. Maybe I could not fit into this whole culture of schools, and which is where my homeschooling journey also with my daughter came, because I just didn't want her to fit in. I felt that, I mean, now that I'm much grown up, and I feel if I had a little more creative liberty and did not have to fall in line, I would have flourished back then far more. So anyways, I all I knew was that I have to work, and because my mom always said that you need to be
We lost you, I think.
hard working maybe. So sorry,
There's a
can you
lag
hear
in
me?
between.
Am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
My mom was rather working mom, and obviously she's always taught me to work, and I thought that that's what I want to do. And because I was in a small town, and that time Jamshedpur came under Bihar University, and it wasn't the best at that point of time, so she felt that I should get out of the town and study somewhere else, while majority of my cousins went to either Banaras University, or to Cuttack, or to Calcutta. I somehow felt that I would either come to Bombay or Pune. And I had a friend, she was in Bangalore and Bombay, and somehow that whole thing that, it was, I wanted to come and study in a bigger space. And I came to Bombay after my 12th, and tried for Sophia's and Xavier's and Wilson. I think the three colleges which I was told that, these are the three. I got through Sophia's, my mom's first college. I got through actually all three, but I got through Sophia's first, and it had a hostel. My mom said that this is the, college you need to be, because now we can't take chances. What if you don't get anywhere else? And not that. So I would study in the way, I would only calculate marks. Oh, how much does it take to get into a college? Oh, okay, you need a 70%, then I will get a 78. So I will just count marks, write my paper for 85, and walk out thinking that 85 mein 75 ho gaya, so I've got 90% in my head. Okay, why bother answering? So that's kind of a mindset I came from. So 3 years in Sophia's changed the way I am. From Sophia's, I took up, so that time, like you said, is a dream. My dream was essentially to be in the world of finance. Actually, I thought I want to work for the stock exchange. I was very fascinated by the stock exchange. So I took up this course called Diploma in Business Finance from ICFAI, and I could not understand a word of accounts, while everything else was okay. So I was majoring in economics, and statistics was one of my subjects, and sociology, the three subjects. And I could not understand accounts I thought DR was doctor and not debtor. And so CR and DR, I had to do entry. I thought DR was doctor, and I couldn't figure out why DR is in this thing. So anyways, that's how it happened. And I told my mom that, it will take a year for me to finish. In a way, I think I just made an excuse to go and figure out what I want to do. And I had to work. So because I had to leave my college hostel and go to a working women's hostel, so I joined a company which is to do kind of, it was in technology company, and they would do a lot of events for wanting aspiring students. So I did 1 month of that. Then I went and joined another small firm that would do a lot of content analysis. They would read newspapers, and they would read brands, and they would read about companies, and they would collate information and give it to the company. And when I started working, my first job offer came there, because one of the clients was my then later became my senior, he said that, you're great at talking and everything. Why don't you work in our field? And I had no clue what it was. So when I met him, and then initially I rejected, saying, "Oh, you're poaching and all of that," and I like, okay. And then I went and figured out, and then I went and joined XIC. So Xavier's Institute of Communication in Mumbai was one of the only ones then, except for HR had a small joint advertising in PR, but XIC was obviously far more coveted in that sense. So I went and gave the exams, joined XIC, and that's how my journey in this whole field. And then later I went and did my master's, and it just went on.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how the reason I said such a long story is because I always feel that, our kids, we are
Yes.
when I was that age, some of our kids are of that age, and they're equally clueless. And
True.
more so because I teach a college, I meet youngsters every day. I meet
No,
these
we
17-year-olds, and when they pass out,
correct.
20s,
No,
or
we wanted
sometimes
this
they're
long
22.
story. You're absolutely right. We wanted this long story because, many a times we feel that these decisions can be made at an early age, which is so not true. Many a times kids say that,
No.
oh, I want to become this when I grow up and that. But, uh, life takes its own turn. And that's the beauty of life. One more thing,
True.
I'm also a Sufaiite, so I didn't know that. This is really nice.
Okay, now,
Okay.
I want to tell you something. When I was
Sure.
in HDFC, everybody thought, because I was not one of the star kids in my house. There are many star kids in my house, so I was definitely not one of them. So when I got through HDFC, like friends, families, many people thought that, okay, now finally we understand what she's doing. Till then, वो क्या कर रही है मुझे समझ में नहीं आता था, because if I said I work for an agency, public relations or advertising or branding, they would say ad में आओगी क्या? That was the
Correct.
thought that they had. And neither was I one of those ad looking materials, so they was very confusing that what am I doing in this world.
So exactly my next question, that is why, because many a times mass media or marketing or event management, advertising, so what exactly is this field? Can you tell us about this field? So अगर कोई बच्चा जाता है and say BMM करता है, he takes up the bachelor's in mass media, which is a degree now. So what does he achieve with that? Or so what are these degrees or diplomas or certification? Please tell us about this field.
So the thing is not that when we say the business of media, it's a very vast thing. Okay, there are different parts to the business of media. So the one we all get to see is the front end, which is your people who are in front of the camera. So like we have actors or television anchors in the news industry, or we have social media content creators, or we have people who are doing events, or people who are in the forefront. Right now, beyond the forefront, there is a lot of things that go behind. So one element is the technical element. So for example, you may see a singer, but there is a whole team of band which is working on the song, the composition, and then there is one part which is a business part. So managing the business of that person or of that label or of the company. And now there is a third part which is come in very, very strongly, which is the data part. Like the data part is in the analytics part. So for example, like Spotify, we all hear Spotify. Now Spotify, if I have to say the front end, you have all the singers who are singing there, or people who have put up their content. If I'm talking about the technical part, people who are like sound recordists, or people who have worked on the app of the who's developed the Spotify as an app, or who are working on the technical element. But there's a business element. People who are saying, how do I monetize this whole app? How does Spotify make money? How does the brand, how do we know about Spotify? That is a marketing element of it. But there's also a segment which is a little lesser known and very deep segment, is the data segment. So every time you go to Spotify, 4 other songs get recommended to you, right? Now, how is it getting recommended? Obviously, because they can study your pattern of song selection. Now, and that happens, I understand that happens technically, but people are actually, very interestingly. So even if you have to create especially internationally, even in India, even if you have to create a new album, an artist has to create a new album, they use the data to find out that what is it that people are actually wanting. So if they read the data and see that this kind of music, and they do micro analysis. So for example, they will say this genre of song, this kind of beats, this kind of lyrics, this kind of theme actually makes sense. And this is all data. There is no creativity out there. If they can read the data and they can predict it, based on the data, the entire song gets made. So there's a vast thing. So many a times I meet kids, or parents who say that I'm great, my child is great in mathematics, but my child loves music. What do I do? I mean, there are two sides of him, but there is an industry which needs both the sides together. There's industry that needs data science and the appreciation and understanding of an art form. So fortunately, we're living in an era where the combination is a possibility. So yeah, that is where it is. But largely, my focus is on the business side of the media. That how does this media business function?
Okay.
So
yeah, interesting. So I mean, you're explaining it in a very beautiful way. So you're saying that a person with love for maths and media can also join together and make a beautiful
yeah.
field out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Or for example, you can be an engineer and you can go into the media and you can still make a field out of it, because there are they need that kind of analytics. So for example, right now, I know people who are into app development, but or not even app, like they're using far more cutting edge technology, be it an AI or be it a VR or be it a AR, or like the higher versions of those, and combining all of that and creating content for children or creating content for us, all of us. Now there is a creative element to it, and there is a obviously
Yeah,
technical
the
element to it.
engineering part of it, the
Engineering
coding
element
part.
to it, coding part of it. If you don't understand that, in fact, a friend of mine, I must put it out here, that her son is doing studying in London, and he's studying game designing. Okay, and initially he was in a institute in that you saw 6 months
Your voice is breaking.
study. When you
Can you
say that
repeat
they
the
went
last
for
part? Can you repeat the last part, please?
yeah, just a minute. So I said that 1 second. Give me a minute. I'll just change my.
Okay. Meanwhile,
Just a minute.
just one in just a small thing for everyone. This meeting might get over in next 7 minutes. We will share a new link with you all, and you all rejoin through that link. Okay, because the Zoom allows only 30 minutes of free, and then we will again resume. Vinita, you have raised hand. I can see you can ask your question, but Oindrila has just now exited. I think she's having some trouble. She'll come back.
I'm here. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You were saying something in the meantime.
You didn't hear me?
I only heard in the meantime.
Okay. I was saying that in the meantime, since you were not here, I said that even if we all log out of Zoom, because only 6 minutes are left, I will share a link and we will rejoin through that link and continue our discussion. So meanwhile, Vinita had raised her hand and she wanted to ask something. You want to ask something, Vinita?
No, I wanted to tell something. You can
Yeah,
hear me
please.
now?
Yes.
I'm also a part of media. I've been in the advertising field, but I was the head of the films department. So I'm not in the client side. I am more of your, films
creative
department.
side. Yes, of course.
I was in Fulka for like 12 years and then head of Bates and Law and Kenneth. So I've been a part of
Lovely.
yeah. But then after, because both of us, my husband is in Z and he's in the television part. So then I had to quit because of my child. And now I do a little of celebrity management when possible. So even I want to go
Oh,
back
that's
to my
lovely.
advertising field. I'm a part of XIC also. So I've done I did my MSc and then jumped to, I was in Xavier's doing MSc. Then I jumped to XIC for mass and communication. And from there I was in Ulka for like 8 to 12 years. So I've been I absolutely relate with you what you're talking right now, that way.
Please join in and add up to whatever I'm saying. It'll be lovely.
But you are more of that client side. I'm more of the agency part, and the filming
So
part.
which is the two sides. Actually, I moved on to obviously being the marketing side, and she obviously remained in the agency.
But I'm not even that MBA side. I'm the filming side. The ads which you see on
filmmaking
TV.
side. Yes, yes,
so
I
I'm
understand. Totally. The creative part of it. So like I said, that there's a creative content creation, there is a business side, there is now a data side, and there's obviously a backend which is working, which is the technology side. So when all of it comes together, so media need not have to be only one side. So for example, when we said media, when we were like a 10 years, 12 years earlier, people would think media means either you have to be a advertising professional, or you have to be into public relations or event management, or it would be filmmaking, or it would be a radio or a journalism. So these comprised of media, but now more so, because media is no longer just given out through either a print magazine, or with the technology giving us media, suddenly the entire creative field and the field of creative arts is coming together. So which is where I was trying to share. There's this friend of mine, her kid went and he started learning game designing. For the first 6 months, he thought that obviously he will go and there will be a lot of design and a lot of creative. For the first 6 months, all he did was to do 1,000 human forms he had to draw, because the point was that if you do, and only not that he's going to ever get into that, but the fact is, if you don't understand a human form, how are you going to create the games that you're going to create and the movements that you're going to create? So I'm saying that while we feel that okay, art is a very different thing, and my child is into gaming, and he wants to only do gaming, what will he do with this art? Actually, that's not how it's going to be there any longer. And also, even I could just share one more thing, because there are kids and parents, and that sometimes all these years now we would compartmentalize things, like we would have things saying that okay, this job is digital job, or this is creative job, or this is journalism, or this is advertising, or this is content. We would segregate, but over a more so now and going forward next 10 years, when our children will be out there in the real world, the whole thing is converging, and it's converging more. So like journalism has converted into citizen journalism, right? Like I always tell them that every child is now has a media in their hand. Every child is a journalist by itself, right? Because whatever they see around the world, they're recommending it, putting out, their friends are getting influenced, people are so somewhere that is the reality. The convergence is the reality. So we cannot say that if you're doing technology, you will be part of this, and if you're part of media, you have to be part of it. So that's where the thing is.
Oh, nice. This is like really nice piece of information, and really nice to know even Vinita is from the same background and she also can share some things. What I'll do is, Ketika, I saw your hand, but since the time is, so what we'll do is we'll log
Join
out
back
from here and join back from the new link. I will share the new link, and then I have a couple of more questions, and we will take audience questions then.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. So yeah, we were talking about convergence, talking about that fields are coming together, and so whatever is the profession that your child wishes to be, if you can marry the two, there is a beautiful world that can be created.
Correct. So on that point, Oindrila, can you tell us, like, we all know the basic educational background that might be required, but if you could just run through that as well. At the same time, as you mentioned, that when someone goes for gaming, it is even the drawing part that is required. So we are talking about some skills that are required for to accompany with your degree, or accompany with your higher education. So what are the skill sets that could help a person get into this field, and what is the core educational background that is required?
So the thing is that, like I said, now just if I have to decode it into these 3-4 parts, if I'm looking at the pure on the front side, the uh, content, the creative expression part, which is either the acting or being an anchor or being an, so obviously that requires a more of art, so what I'm saying is, if you have to be in the acting side, if you want your face to be in advertising, or you want to be an actor, or if you want to be a singer, then obviously you have to harness that skill, right? It is sometimes it is natural, but that naturalness also needs a harnessing. Having said that, in these kind of creative field, there is not too much of emphasis on degrees. You may have degrees, people do get degrees, like the college I teach has a degree. There are international degrees there are, but having said that, the creative field does not need so much of degree as much as how much you worked on your skills. So have you participated in theaters, have you participated in dance, have you learned some kind of expressions, have you learned singing for a long period of time? Even if you've not given exams, have you learned that art for a very long period of time and reached a kind of a level that is required? So that area is far more relaxed in that sense. You don't need any formal education. Now the second area that I'm going to talk is the technical area. Now in the technical area, to get into the technical area, which means that either you have to be a music producer or a music director, or you may want to work with VFX, or you may want to work with camera, you may want to create films. Now there also I can say like a 60-40 kind of equation, sometimes 30-70. So that 60-70 per 65% is of your experience and your natural talent that comes with the eye for detailing or the eye for creative thing. And there is a component which is where your training is needed. The training is needed because the technology is so advanced that you cannot not be learning the technology and suddenly saying that somebody would give me the most highest end camera and let me shoot it in a film. The ability to handle the camera, the trust of the person to give you the camera itself comes from certain kind of basic knowledge of it. So you do your 10th, you do your 12th, then you enroll yourself in some kind of creative institution, or institution that teaches you the art of handling the, or if you want to be in the music creation field. Now unless, again, there is another side, unless you already have an access to that field, so for example, you could be either because of your family, or because of your relatives and friends, or because you have been associated. So I know some people who have been, so when my daughter was learning initially music, she was, the first 3 years we went to the Pandit Jasrajji's Institute of Music. Now she's with another institution called Gurukul Sangeetalaya. But when I went to the first 3 years out there when she was young, I saw a lot of older kids coming there, the teenagers coming there. So that's a Gharana music. There was no exam per se, like a university level exam. But some of them were genuinely talented and got spotted because the talent was there. So what I mean by channel, that I do not mean channel by only family, but being at the right place at the right time. So if you really want to be in acting and you're acting, say for example Rangmanch for the last 5 years, since you are a 5-year-old kid till you are 18 years old, you naturally get spotted because you're out there. Or if you've done music creation also, another thing that makes a lot of difference in this world is a portfolio building, like what kind of portfolio you build over a period of time. So if you want to create, if you aspire to be a music as a kid, or your kid wants to do it, then over a period, has he developed and made something of his own? Or if he wants to be a great gamer, has he created some simple game, but has he created things of your own? And one thing, what I've seen many number of times, especially when I deal with these teenagers in college, that many of them come with lot of experience, but nobody documents it. So my submission to parents is that if your child is doing it, help them to document it. By document, I mean is not from babyhood, their first certificate, but in the teenage later years, like the highest 15, 16, 17, or from 14, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, that years, whatever they have done, create a portfolio, either a physical portfolio or create a digital portfolio. Everybody has Instagram. Create one Instagram which is not their personal Instagram, but for their work Instagram, or create a YouTube channel with the work. Don't make it public if you're uncomfortable with it, but at least create and keep it there, even if it is private. So when you're tomorrow going out there and talking to somebody, it is not like a whimsically I decided, because a lot of people come there, right? So we would like to know. So when I talk to students for admissions in Distinct Woods, I'm part of the panel of admission taking. One of the things that we definitely ask is, what have you say you want to be in the field of media, what have you done in the field of media? So if the kids have done some and they say a lot of things, but there's no documentation, no? So my submission is, if you can document their work, their art, or their recordings of their voice, or if it could be a small film that they have made, or they may love whatever, maybe loving flowers, and if you want to make a film on flowers, maybe the small films, but if they can be kept together in a handy way, it makes a lot of difference.
Okay, so building a portfolio is extremely important.
Yeah. So now last part is the business part of it, right? The business part of it, which is where, again, I said I come from. That needs a certain kind of education. That needs a certain, but at the same breath, it is not. So like, for example, Distinct Woods, I know for a fact that I know 3 kids who have been homeschoolers and got admission into it. So the thing is out there is whether you will be able to, of course they did their 10th, I think, NIOS and IGCC and whatever, and then but they were homeschoolers. But the thing is that what is important out there is a little bit of degree. So what is the degree? You do your 10th, you do your 12th, then you do your graduation, and then either you can do graduation in, say, nowadays you have BBA, BBM, bachelor's in business of media, then bachelor's of business of administration, then you have a lot of BBs you have, and then you have BBC, the business of communication. So different universities has different permutation combination, and then you can do your masters. So there are a lot of masters or postgraduate diploma courses, a lot of things are available. So basically you learn how to manage the business of it. In fact, if you have a little bit of financial and accounts knowledge, it helps in the study in the MBA, because finally MBA is about managing the business of it. But having said that, it did not have to be accounting like a CA, chartered accountant, just the flair. And also writing is a big requirement. I don't mean creative writing, that is another requirement, but the essential sense of business writing. Because what happens is, and it is not only for homeschoolers, it's for majority of our children, they love to write on short forms and they write short content, right? Now, while I understand that the world is moving to a 30-second story and 1-minute story, but the business, which is true, but they are, and which is beautiful. I also don't anymore stand by and watch a 5-minute reel, right? Reel is to be, but the fact is that finally in the business world, if you're writing a letter to the senior most guy, he is a gray-haired man, he doesn't understand PFA. So PFA, I also didn't know PFA. Later I figured out, please find find attached. Yeah. So I have had my students go and apply for internship, and they've written TFA, and I have a letter which says that if you don't have time to write the full form, how would you have time to do internship? That is the letter came back. So I'm just simply saying that the basic business writing and communication skill is very, very, very much needed. That's it.
So communication skills, a little bit about finance, like understanding the business side of it, and basically
Business side.
understanding where the world is moving.
World is moving. Yeah, where the world is moving, where the media world is moving,
Correct.
what is being spoken about.
So coming to that, then tell us, Soindrila, are there enough opportunities? I mean, today when we are talking about, 2023 is going to be a recession year, and every other year there are new forecasts. I just want to know, like, what is your field like, experiencing or going through any such turmoil, or are there enough opportunities? What is the business market? What does it look like at the moment?
So if the world exists, then the media will exist. So discounting that fact that
And
so
we
many
did see
people
that
say,
in COVID, right? The world was shut, people were dying, but the media was focusing on that.
yeah.
That's
So
the
this is
sad
a
reality.
it is a very upcoming, very, I can't say upcoming anymore. It has already come. It is a very booming thing, but the only thing is now that there are a lot of dynamics are changing. So there is a, if you ask anybody who is in the business, they would obviously have various sides to it, because it's a very dynamic field. Technology has taken over and done many beautiful things to the whole thing, right? Like I was seeing the other day, I was talking to somebody and I was told that they're doing a conference in somewhere in Europe, and they're not able to send some people, and they're sending their metaverse human in the conference. So I'm saying the dynamism has changed. Like if I can't represent, my human form is going to go and do the entire thing. So creation of that and all of it is a very different dynamics, right? So or even the journalism, like the way print existed to what right now, people then we start predicting print is dead, journalism is dead. It's not dead, it's just that the new form is emerging. So if our children can cope up with that, with the latest of technology or latest of thing, I think it's a very lucrative field, a field which will grow.
Wow, lovely. This is good. This is really nice to hear, and I loved the part where you said that it's not dead, because nothing is dead. It's always a change, and change is the only constant that we know, right? So
Yeah, and it's
there
a
is
very nice change, because you can
lovely.
now use so much of your skills. Like I said, that if you are in love with the cutting edge of the technology, you can actually bring that and do a creative field. When else would I had seen a technology, such large amount of technology coming and mingling with such creative world, no? So
Correct.
that, and then finance coming in and data, I think it's like a very lovely convergence world right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's take some questions, Soindrila. I think Ketika had a question. So let's start with Ketika, and then whoever wants to ask questions, feel free to ask.
Hi, Kritika.
Yeah, hi, Amrita. Am I audible?
Yeah, little feeble,
Yeah,
but I get.
yeah. I have just shut it down my video. Otherwise, I'll not be able to talk. So I actually not have a question, but I just wanted to add on one thing that I also just to add that I also come from a communications background. I was
Nice.
done. So just one point which I wanted to add for other parents here, that psychology as a subject is playing a huge
Yeah.
role for anyone. So because this is a question that comes to me, that my child wants to do communications, because one thing that I have gone, one line which I have always used is, only when a person starts learns how to communicate properly with yourself, can you communicate with the world. So this has been one line which I always tell a lot of children, and that has proved, you know, that more you understand the human nature, more you're able to be an effective
True,
communicator.
true. I agree with
So
her totally. That,
so then
not, and
so that's the
also
question.
psychology, like she's saying, is a very beautiful thing, because finally when you're doing in the business, or if you're even if you're creating content, you have to understand the psychology of the receiver, like how your audience will behave, or how will your consumer react to your content, or how will this whole mass will work and think of my content, so even if you're not a content creator, even if you're a business person and you want to sell, say for example, I am in the marketing field and I want to sell Lay's chips to a mass, right? Or my brand is Lay's and I want to, how is the psychology of the, where is the trend moving, or what is the psychology I can play with or align with in order to make my brand more acceptable? I think that's a very beautiful point she's making, that psychology, sometimes we feel that, oh, it will lead you to counseling, or it will make you a counselor or a psychiatrist. That's not true. Even in consumer behavior, even in marketing, even in advertising, even in any form of communication, it's a very important field. I'm glad you brought it up.
That's an important point. Wow.
Thanks. And also, Andrea, you are based in Bombay, right?
No, I'm based in Goa, actually.
Wow.
I was based in Bombay. I moved.
Okay, so I just wanted to, kind of share one information with everyone if you also not aware. So there is an institute called Rubika which has come up. Have you heard about it?
No, not yet.
Okay, so Rubika is an institute which is opened up in Pune, and this is for parents who are in Pune or Bombay, or who are really serious to understand more. So it is backed by people like Gulzar Sahib and their family, who are training people on doing the technical side of mass comm. So it is a lovely space. So they, because they realize, because I know that Red Chillies wanted such huge, so there is a lot more when it comes to mass comm where the technical side is involved. So please,
Yeah.
just sharing this information for everyone who's based around Bombay and Pune. So other
Anyway, I
parents
mean, if the
also
child really wants
Thank
to
you so
do,
much.
in fact, coming to that, like you had asked me before that what kind of academics are available
Yes.
in India or abroad, or where can people. So there are various institutions available now, right from those who have been into the profession, like what you call the uh, veteran institute. So you have right from a Jamia Millia Islamia, which is the masters in mass comm, or you can go and do a post graduation. Sorry, you can do a doctorate in mass comm. So you have a Jamia Millia at one side. You also have on the other side, you have a MICA, which is also like the parallel, what we call as the IIM of institution. Then you have, say for example, I teach with Whistling Woods. That's a film, mass comm, media and communication, fashion designing. It's a mix of some multiple departments. Then you also have, like Edika said, you have also those. In fact, you also have a lot of, so for example, Mumbai University has, MIT has, you have also Symbiosis has, Bangalore has a very nice College of Indian Institute of mass communication or communication. So you will, Xavier's is there obviously. So you will have right from new age colleges to that of colleges which has been there for about, say now 4, 5, 10, yeah, at least 50, 60 years. So you will have both sides of the colleges. There are tests which happen. So for example, for Xavier's, there's an individual test which is taken. Majority of the part of the test is about whether you do any of them is largely to do with logical skills, out of the box thinking. Out of the box thinking is a very buzzword maybe. And then you will also have little bit of English language and communication is one of the part of the testing. Little bit of mathematical testing, but that's largely the logical part of maths, and different institute is different. And then obviously then comes down to your own personal discussions and vivas and essay writing. So that's basically the entire part. You have to find out who has what kind of requirement, or when are the exams are planned for, and then accordingly take the exams. And then you have new age colleges, which has a very different kind of, they'll more prefer portfolios and they will prefer what you've already done in them.
Nice. That's a really nice piece of information.
So, Andrea, this is Ajay here. I have a question.
Hi, Ajay.
So one of the things is like, you studied economics, right? And then you moved to mass communication.
Yeah.
In our time, a lot of what we studied from a degree perspective and what jobs we landed up doing or what work we did had a very little overlap, right? You had hardly 15-20% overlap sometimes. We had that privilege. Is that the same thing applying today? Because you got colleges. See, you are a bridge between what is happening in the industry and understanding what the curriculum of the colleges are offering today, correct? How much of it do you see as an overlap relevant today that the college is up to speed with what the industry wants?
Okay, so I'll very, very valid question, and as a parent, I would have wanted it. And in fact, I'm glad you're talking about this. So I'll give you two perspectives. Okay. Okay, so there are colleges which are focused on practical development of skills, and there are colleges which are focused on making it a more education or more academic understanding, and the weightages are different. So, for example, when I am talking about a Jamia Millia, while there's a lot of focus on creativity, but there's also a lot of importance given to the theoretical understanding of things. But when we were doing Whistling Woods, and that Whistling Woods is associated with Tata Institute of Social Science, the vocational part of it, a lot of, because it is associated with the the vocational part of it, a lot of emphasis is given to the practical element of it, and that's not the only institute that exists. There are other institutes which are similar. Now, the thing is that what happens is that when you're learning the business side of communication, so the subjects levels are very broad, and which is what I have seen. So when we do it, for example, we have subjects like she said, we have psychology, we have finance, we have economics, we have accounts, and we also have sociology, and we have media and culture, we have obviously advertising, public relations, broadcasting, radio, documentary. Now, looking at it, or a child is looking at it, I always get this question that why should I bother studying about history of art, or why should I bother about finance why should I study sociology when I have to go and work in an advertising agency? But the point here is that, the reason these are given, which is what Ajay is asking, that how much of that overlap, because you may want to do, but you don't know which industry you're going to, number one. And number two, so for example, when I came from economics and I had a company which was working on the financial side of it, when I got through HDFC Communication, that's because part of it is, while I did marketing, while I did branding, while I did communication, but the fact that I understood some element of the business world helped me. And also what happens is, like when we look at a career entry, majority of the children look at it at the immediate job level, that will it give me a job and what will I do in the next 2 years. But the point is that when you're taking a master's or when you're taking a graduation, these are going to be based for you're not going to go back and do another master's in the next whole career of yours. You may do job enhancement thing, but you're not going to take up such large academic breaks. So what will you tap back on when you become a manager or you become a center head? How will you know to put in the accounts together if you do not know it today? Or how will you do a consumer analysis if you don't understand psychology? You may not do it today. So what Ajay, the thing is that if you're concerned about that overlap, you must look for institutions which are more practical oriented, where the work is done in order to make you fit into the industry. The disadvantage is that obviously it does not lead to such high academic rigor.
Okay.
And however, if you want that high academic rigor, then you must look for a course which is very heavy on the theoretical side.
Okay. No, Andrea, I get your point. I am totally getting it right now. And the reason I'm bringing it up also for us to think about is right now the stress is on kids making a selection at the 8th standard, what they are going to do on their careers. I am, from where I am seeing it today, or at least my perspective that I want, to understand from others also tomorrow, is that even after you finish your graduation, you've just dipped your toes in the water. By the time you land up swimming into that ocean, what you have actually learned is only assisting you to get into the water. It is not the base on which it will help you swim the ocean. You have to figure your way out, right? So it is about trying to understand that, the emphasis a lot of times is going on the fact, are ye college mein admission le liya, you got this course, you got this degree, abhi tera life set hai. That mindset, we need to keep evolving that mindset, that it's no longer that. Even if you're getting that education, the industry would have moved ahead, because at least from where I'm coming in, I am in the pharmacy line. There's a huge gap we have today between what the colleges are teaching and what the industry is doing. So, that is where I wanted to understand.
No, I totally agree with you on that. That, and also with my own example, I can say that, when you say that it's no longer that, industrial era where you get into a job and, you work there for 40 years and then you retire out of that thing. It was gone at my era also. Like, I have jobs. Having said that, today kids are, in fact, I find them far more stabler than what I was in my career. But the fact is that, it's an evolving dynamic world, right? So what Ajay is saying, that whatever you have gathered, like you've gathered, maybe you've gotten into it, but you have to keep upgrading your skills, and you have to be aware, and you have to be constantly knowing what it is. But that comes from the inner self, and also how the child has been, growing in it. Having said that, I'm not saying there are children who are very methodical and wants to focus, and they're also needed in the world. You can't all the time have people like me who will come every day with one idea and say, let's do that. That's also a little scary. But having said that, you also need that methodical. In fact, when I am doing my business now, my other two partners, if you meet them, they're like one of them is absolutely checklist she will follow, but that's a skill set, right? Beautiful skill set. Another one is absolutely she's an engineer and absolutely objective in her way. So I'm saying that the combination. Another thing, sorry, I want to really say this, especially when we are homeschoolers, that combining strengths of people and ability to find and match and marry and is a very big need of the industry. Like, what Ajay was saying, that we are growing and selecting at very early age our disciplines, right? Then how else will I go and work if I have multiple fields? So one of the elements, if we can groom our children to have combined workings, that you do this part, you do this part, you this, that element of letting your idea flow out and everybody jumping into it and contributing to it and making into a fifth idea. I think that is a very big trait and very prized trait in the industry.
Yeah, so basically having an open mind, open-mindedness is somewhere we are, which will help us, where, not just
networking skills, people skills,
but getting a variety of skills to back up your core education.
Correct.
So
also
thanks, Andrila. No, this is good, and this really helps understand. See, you're getting so much information on, we thought one, mass media and communication, and you're just saying that is like an ocean out there. So many things and aspects are there. Correct. So it's about making sure that the kids get the right, their liking, their passion, and then automatically they will penetrate through that aspect on their own, right? This is what I'm taking away today.
Correct.
Also, I feel
can I add something here, Andrila?
Yes.
Ajay, just for you, I entered Masscom after being an engineer, and that also a specialist in biomedical engineering. And then I was in events, and then Masscom, and then filmmaking, And but finally, when I entered mass comm, I could manage and work as a mass communication, as a communication consultant, because especially with defense clients, with pharmaceutical clients, as well as aviation, because of my background in engineering. So it's, the kind of clients that I could work on was so much because of so it's not about the interest. It's more about what more can the family allow. Luckily, I was in a phase where my family allowed. And same thing we need to do with my daughter. She wants to pursue and be a zoologist and a video game maker, and we should not stop them. And this is what she's actually doing it. She's doing internships in both the fields right now. So we should, I think what we as parents also need to do is, kind of just let them, help them become the facilitators and just help them explore. And really, it's doable. Anything is doable right now.
True. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
That
the
is
point. I
true.
think.
In fact, I know somebody who has been into education and hardcore education and got out and now working with Byju's in order to convert that into visual content and working with absolutely high-end technical side. So I'm saying that, while we say that you have to, like what you become, I mean, we can become multiple things, and that's quite possible now, is what I'm completely in agreement on that.
So true. So, master of, jack of all and master of none is no more valid. It's master of all. Or even if you're jack of all, you are master of one. So it's never jack
Yeah,
of
you can have an intent, and
Yeah,
I agree that there has to be some core thing which fits to your thing. But like I said, that who knows that what if the child, after when he turns 30, decides to stop everything and want to be a startup?
Absolutely. On that note, I would like to just share one little thing. So Agastya, my son, had given a TED talk a couple of years back, and he had spoken about this, where we are actually talking about, which I can share the link later, where he says that who knows, someone can be a dancer and a coder and a doctor, maybe. So you can have couple of professions together. Why just be one when you can be many?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I agree totally. And now the beautiful part is, especially in the media field, I feel that you can converge all of that. Like you can bring it all to one platform, and put it out there.
So yeah, it was a wonderful talk, Andrila. We have last 4 minutes before everyone goes. One takeaway that you would like to share, and then we can all exit. One takeaway for parents or kids. What is that one takeaway? See, my takeaway from your talk was build a portfolio. That's such an important thing. Get all your skill sets together and build a portfolio. Can you give us one takeaway?
I think for me, do your research in terms of what's the different courses available in the market. Do a deep research.
Yeah,
because a lot of people don't even know what's available, and then we come to know later, oh, we should have done that. So I have gone through that, so I know. Yeah.
True. So don't stop exploring. Create a your own repertoire of all the things that you search and explore, and build your profile, so the parents can help kids.
I think profile building is a very important. And if you want me to say one more thing, I know parents here are all, but I know you're also recording it for everybody else, is that, be very mindful. Children, if we can guide our children to be very mindful of what digital footprint they are leaving. Because what happens is that as a innocent 13, 14, 15-year-old, they put out a lot of content and a lot of information. And I'm not talking about data theft. I'm not even talking all of that. But from an interviewing point of view, I'm saying when I have to interview somebody, and if I have to really look at somebody, all we do, or the HR, or if I'm hiring somebody, all we do is put a data search. And then what happens is that your whole past comments, your data, everything comes out, right? And then what you have said or something which is maybe not in alignment to my company or not in alignment, your views are not very or you have projected yourself not in a very tasteful manner on the internet, those suddenly becomes hindrance or blockages. Even before knowing you, you get rejected. And I have seen that happening to children. And however much you clean that data, I know one girl, she's been trying to clean her data since she was 10 years, she was in 10th when she first had an Insta. She got it off in 11th because she got into trolling. Then she had an Insta at 12th when she was in 12th, because professionally she had to build a portfolio. But some of her trollers came back, and now what has happened is, because you don't know what data got downloaded and re-uploaded, every time she cleans it, there is some video which comes up. So I'm just saying that, if parents can be a little mindful of or make the children mindful of the fact that, what is the footprints that you're leaving. I think that is a very submission of mine.
Yeah, being mindful about carbon footprints and the social media footprints is
But your
equally
social
important.
media footprint, very important.
Yes. Yes.
Because everything now is only based on one search and you're out there. However the protected your thing is, it is just a click away.
Totally, I agree, completely agree with you. Thank you so much, Oindrala, and all of you for joining in today.
Thank you everyone, actually. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you for such a wonderful talk, and you gave us a lot of insights. Thank you so much, Oindrala.
And thanks for joining in and contributing. And I'm glad there were so many people from the similar field, and we can guide our kids in whichever way.
Correct. So okay, thank you, and we are meeting again tomorrow at 10 o'clock for career in finance. So
right.
So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Amrita. Thanks a lot for hosting this.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Devyani. Thank you for joining. Bye.